Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Whiskey 6 here, back with another poorly filmed and edited video for your viewing pleasure. I've been playing with some air rifles recently, most notably the one in the foreground here, that is the Benjamin Trail NP2, few years old maybe, I'm not sure, I've had it for a little while. This one in the middle here is the Benjamin 397P, I believe. That one I've had since I was a little kid. And then we've got this craptastic Gammo break barrel that is all rusty and covered with cobwebs and whatnot. That one I refer to as my shed rifle. It stays outside in the shed and sometimes out in the elements. Believe it or not, that scope used to be black. So that's kind of my beater that I use for whatever. But today we're going to play with this Benjamin NP2, the Trail NP2, and it hasn't been cleaned before. I've got probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 300-400 rounds through it, and I wanted to clean the barrel, and I figured, hey, why not also polish the barrel and do some testing before and after as far as velocity is concerned before and after a barrel polish. There's a bunch of videos out there about barrel polishing and the effects of accuracy, but I have not seen any videos as far as barrel polishing and the effects of velocity. So we're going to do a little bit of testing, somewhat scientific, but also we're going to do it crappily because it's the Whiskey 6 channel and that's how we roll. And it's rainy and the weather's crappy outside, so that's why I'm shooting out of the bedroom off this end table you see over here in the corner in the top left of the screen there. Hoping to get this done before my wife comes home and yells at me about shooting out the bedroom and rearranging the furniture. You know how that goes. The experiment that we're going to do today is with the Benjamin Trail, that break barrel nitro piston, and it hasn't been cleaned yet. I've ran somewhere between 200 and 300 pellets through it. Haven't cleaned it yet. So the experiment I want to do is before and after chronograph testing, and I'm not only going to clean the barrel, but I'm going to polish it using some JB bore bright and pretty standard methods for barrel cleaning and polishing. Nothing fancy there. In fact, I'm probably not even going to film it just to try to make this video as short as possible. But we're going to see the results. Not only does it increase velocity, does it enable a more consistent velocity? We're going to find out. We're going to see the max velocities, the average, as well as the extreme spread before and after. Now, for testing, I'm going to use the Benjamin Premier hollow points. Pretty standard, really good pellet that a lot of people use. They're 14.3 grain. These, I think, probably represent the best bang for the buck for pellets out there in 22 caliber. Your mileage may vary with that. I'm also going to shoot these H&N Barracudas. These are heavy. These are 21.14 grains. This is a lead pellet, but it's copper coated. It says right there in small writing, I don't know if you can see it, it says for PCP rifles only. Well, I don't follow the rules, so I'm going to shoot some of these out of this thing and do some before and after testing with the 14.3 grain pellets as well as the 21 grain pellets. I have shot a few of these. Like I said, I kind of make up my own rules. Don't care. Judge me if you want. They do shoot. I don't make a habit of shooting them just because, I don't know if it's good for the rifle. So I like to use the 14.3s. They shoot pretty good. And this thing groups well. But it is time to clean it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that after I do the before testing. So the first 5 shots are going to be with the Crosman Premier hollow points. We're going to do those first. And then the second 5 are going to be with the H&N Barracudas. So we'll see how that works out. And I'm going to repeat the exact same 5-shot process after the cleaning and bore polishing, and we'll see what we get. All right, follow along. Alright, so I have completed the cleaning and bore polishing on the Benjamin Trail NP2 here. I didn't film the cleaning process because I didn't want to make the video unnecessarily long. There's tons of videos out there on how to execute the cleaning of the barrel, polishing and whatnot. I just wanted to touch on some of the products and processes that I use just for the sake of it, because people are inherently going to ask if I don't, right? So I tend to use automotive things for gun cleaning purposes. Seafoam spray I found is really good, as well as PB Blaster, which is the kissing cousin of Aerocroil, which a lot of people use in conjunction with the JB bore compound or bore polish. They even sell them together as a kit from Brownells, I believe, the Aerocroil and the PB Blaster. So that being said, I start off with, one of these patch holders, your typical like needle eye kind of patch holder. I don't consider this a cleaning thing so much as I use it as a lubrication applicator, right? In conjunction with some patches like this. I've had these for a long time. These are some outers, just a pack of bulk patches, and it's got this convenient little graph on the back which kind of shows you which sizes to use for which calibers, and I'll kind of go over that. These are what is it, 1.5 inch by 3 inches. Yeah, 1.5 inches by 3 inches, it says down there on the corner. Now when you're using the patch holder, you can stick the whole thing on there and it doesn't fit super tight. So I'm not the type of guy to spray things down the barrel. I just never have been. I will apply things to patches and apply the lube that way, not by just blasting things down the barrel. I don't know why. That's a thing of mine. So I ran a couple patches through this one with some seafoam spray and kind of let that eat for a few minutes and kind of dissolve some of the heavier carbon stuff. And then I run your standard bronze brush through there a couple times, and then several patches to kind of clean that out. I follow that up with a couple patches of PB Blaster back and forth to kind of get that worked in there, and then I start running patches through with the Jag, right? And this is something that I don't see people using often enough. Watching a couple YouTube videos on gun cleaning, it seems like a lot of people simply rely on the patch holder, the one that I previously showed. The Jag is going to fit real tight in there, and that pressure being applied to all the corners of the barrel is going to really get in those grooves and help clean stuff out. What you'll notice is you can run a dozen patches through with the little patch holder and then stick a patch on a Jag and push it through, and all of a sudden it's black and dirty again. So I follow the patch holder up with the Jag when it comes to removing stuff from your barrel, especially after running the brass brush through there. And I probably ran a dozen patches through this thing, and they just kept coming out dirty, 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 dirty. So just keep running them through until it's, until those patches are coming out real clean. Then I started with the polishing aspect of it, right? And like just about everyone else, I go with the JB Bore Bright. They have a compound as well. I don't use the compound. I use the polish, which is a little bit finer. But this gun is fairly new still. It's the first time I cleaned it, like I said. So I didn't want to do anything too terribly aggressive, but what I do is I take one of these patches and I kind of burrito wrap it down the length of the brass brush. And while kind of holding it in place, just liberally apply the bore polish to the patch that is wrapped around the brush and work that back and forth a couple of times. And even after running a dozen or so patches through there that start coming out clean, you'll notice, sorry to block the camera, this was my first patch I got. Even after getting clean patches with the Jag, the first patch I ran through there, wrapped around that brush with the bore polish on there, just came out black. So do a few of those until those start coming out clean. Then I finish it with your traditional bore mop. You can see this one's not terribly filthy, and that's kind of the point. It's a little bit dark, but I get the bore as clean as possible, even so far as to use the bore polish on a few different patches wrapped around the bore brush, and run that up and down a few times, and then with the mop and a bunch of polish on the mop, I will just go to town on just back and forth, probably 20 plus times. And then run a couple jags through there with the patches and get as much polish as you can out of there. Then I will go back with the PB blaster and you'll get even more polish out of there, and even more black stuff will start coming out. And I ran probably another half dozen more patches on the jag through the barrel, and what you'll notice is when that barrel's real clean, that jag and patch combo will squeal like a pig all the way through the barrel, and that's when you know it's clean, squeaky clean. Another tip that I recommend is I only use one-piece rods. I have a thing for that. There's a lot of kits out there that will come with a 2 or even 3-piece rod, and that's just one of those things that I don't like. I found that the 2 and 3-piece rods, when you're really trying to shove a patch, real tight patch and jag combo down your barrel, those 2 and 3-piece rods will kind of bend and tweak, and the little fine threads on the rods that hold the sections together, they will start to tweak, and then your rod's bent, and it's, you're chasing your tail trying to get the rod bent back straight, and I don't even mess with that. For less than $10, you can get a one-piece rod. This one's a 17 caliber. It's got a little attachment on the end that is the the little adapter chingazo there that you can attach your other things to. These jags, I use the cheap plastic ones that just come in the kits. They have real nice brass ones that if you wanted to invest in something like that. But that's basically the process that I go through. Finish it up with the mop as far as the polishing is concerned, and then follow that up with a couple more patches with PB Blaster, and just run that jag down there as many times as it takes in order for it to squeal like a pig, and then it's squeaky clean. So just wanted to touch base on my process, because I know if I didn't, I would have questions. So that's my process. Some people will have a different process, whatever floats your boat. I support your freedom. So that's just what I do. Now let's get to the fun part. Let's see if we picked up some velocity here. All right, so here goes the results after doing some math. And what I didn't mention was after I did the bore polishing, I fired about a dozen, maybe 12 or 15 pellets through the barrel because I didn't want to influence the results too heavily, right? Otherwise, it would be similar to packing Vaseline behind your pellet and dieseling it. Of course, you're going to get higher velocities if you did something like that. So I tried to normalize the barrel a little bit and fired some rounds before I started the after testing. But what you will see here is pretty interesting. You'll see on the left hand column is the Crossman Premier Hollow Point 14.3 grain, and on the right hand column is the H&N 21.1 grains. And in each column, I've put an asterisk next to the best statistic, I suppose, the most improved statistic, if you will. Average velocity went up for both pellets, the 14.3 and the 21.1 grains, 6.3 and 7.3 foot-pounds respectively, although the 21.1 grain H&N did take the win there with one more foot per second velocity increase. The extreme spread, that is going to be the difference between the highest recorded and the lowest recorded of each of the 5-shot groups. And the extreme spread actually went way up on the Crossman Premier Hollow Point. And I think that may have to do with irregularities with those pellets. I do believe the H&Ns are a far superior manufactured pellet, much more consistent in sizing and weight. Whereas I think the Crossman Premier Hollow Points are um, less less consistent in those regards, and so you'll see that that extreme spread went up, whereas with the H&N, the extreme spread almost got cut in half. The I didn't put the graphic up here, but the extreme spread before the polish was 36.9, and after the polish the extreme spread was 20, so nearly cut in half. So that took the win there in that column. I did record higher velocity on the high end. The highest recorded velocity was 12.9, basically 13 feet per second faster with the Crossman Premier Hollow Point. The highest recorded velocity with the H&N actually went down, believe it or not. On the low end, that is the lowest recorded velocity of each of the 5-shot groups, went up only just barely with the Crossman 14.3s, but went up significantly with the H&N 21.1 grains. So you will see there that the H&N 21.1 grain pellets actually took 3 out of the 4 best results there, which tells me a couple things. I think primarily that the higher quality pellet is going to respond better than a lower quality pellet. Again, I do believe the Crossman Premier 14.3s, whether it's they have domed and the hollow point and the I think they have the piranha ones as well, as kind of like a shark bite kind of head on it. Those are what I believe to be the best bang for the buck as far as pellets are concerned, because they are pretty consistent for how much they cost, whereas the H&Ns are significantly more expensive, but in that you get a much more consistent size and weight. You'll notice anybody who shoots air rifles, in particular with those Crossman Premiers, even as I was doing the test, some of the pellets just kind of fell into the breech, no effort required, whereas other ones you kind of had to press them down in there. Um, and besides the difference in manufacturing quality, I think the other thing that we learned here is that the heavier pellets are going to provide a more consistent result there with after barrel polishing there. Um, Again, these particular H&N 21.1 grains that I was shooting are not for Springer rifles. They are for PCP only. I could have swore I had a box of, or a tin rather, of H&N 18 grains somewhere. I remember shooting them. I could not locate them. I guess that's what happens when you move twice in a 4 year period. Things disappear. But that being said, I think the the other thing worth noting here is that barrel polishing doesn't necessarily give you a giant increase in velocity here. If anything, it may provide a little more consistency, and I do believe over the long haul, it will definitely provide a more or rather easier to clean barrel, right? As you keep it polished and then continue cleaning, say periodically, some people will, run a bore snake or a few patches every few hundred rounds, what have you. Your barrel is going to remain cleaner, and as long as you're following some type of regimen, it's going to remain more consistent. And that's really the name of the game with air rifles here. The Benji Trail NP2 that I'm shooting here is not a tack driver. It's kind of more of a hunting gun. The one thing I will say that I don't like about it is that it is not equipped with open sights at all. You must put a scope on it, and the one that it comes with is absolute garbage, which I'm sure a bunch of people will agree with me on that. So I've got a different one on there now, but I would definitely prefer if that gun had open sights on it. Now I might do some more testing in the future with my my beater Gammo there. I don't shoot the Benjamin pump that I showed previously. I don't shoot that in the backyard because I might as well shoot a 22 long rifle. The thing is loud, and I'm not trying to piss off my neighbors. So anyways, I'm going to close it out here, guys. Hopefully you found the video helpful. Feel free to like, subscribe, send some comments, and add some questions or even requests for other airgun videos. I'm spending some time doing that right now, even though the weather is kind of crappy. My girls and I have been having fun doing some backyard shooting. So anyhow, Whiskey 6, enjoy.